You should be good.
Awesome. I see recording in the corner, so yay.
Yay, good.
Woohoo!
All right, awesome. The floor is yours, Kate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. How is everyone today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been putting this together for the past couple days, so I kind of feel like a crazy hot mess because I lose myself behind my computer when I design stuff. So it's kind of crazy. So I have a little presentation that I put together, and don't worry about like copying stuff down or whatever. I'll somehow get with Kim and put it up on the Google Drive or into the page so you can have that. But I figured I'd go through some design tips and best practices first, and then I would show you guys like the app that I use. I'm gonna do it on my iPad so that it's bigger and easier to see. But honestly, when I design, I use it on my phone all the time. So it's definitely easy to use on a smaller screen and everything. The reason that I picked this app is because it allows for customization, but it's extremely easy. I pay a yearly subscription fee, which gets me stock photos that I can use for free and all of the designs and fonts that they offer. I think it's like $40 or $50 a year. But honestly, I use it almost every single day, putting together graphics for my page, my business, people's birthdays. You can build anything with it and then print it out or duplicate it. So I really like it, and it's great for beginners. There's not like, I've used Canva before and I can do it, but Canva just seems kind of overwhelming to a lot of people. So that's why I picked this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook up my tripod and we'll get started. Sound good?
Your parents in the morning to cut the grass? Your dad wants you to.
Maybe after we.
Who's that? Okay. All right.
Where's the reverse camera?
I don't know where the reverse camera is. Hold on.
That's your job.
Oh, there it is. I found it. Yay!
That's your job.
It's my only job.
My job is to make the technology work.
Don't mind our banter. We love each other.
Technical support.
Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah, they're
awesome. Okay, so here we go. First, when you're thinking about design, it should solve a problem. So you kind of want to ask yourself some fundamental questions, like what is your objective with the
It's
design?
sideways, she says. Hold on. Hold on. We'll do it that way.
Does that work?
Better? Better.
Rock on.
Okay.
Okay. So what is the function of your design? What is it going to do? Is it informative? Is it suggestive? Is it just for engagement? Do you just want to showcase the product? What do you want to do with it? It will help you figure out, you know, what aspects you want to use and what kind of materials you want to use. The biggest one is, who is your audience? We don't design these images for our enjoyment. I mean, we like them, but they're supposed to be creating interest and awareness. They're supposed to be communicating with your customers. So we usually call it target market. Who is your target market? Who are you selling to? Are you selling to children? Are you selling to working moms, college students, adults, young adults? Different images and different graphics are going to appeal to different audience members. So when you're thinking about that, like especially now that it's back to school time, I usually throw together a lot of stuff that would appeal to college students, because when you live in a dorm, it smells like dirty feet. I don't care what dorm you live in, it always smells like dirty feet. So Scentsy products are really great for when you go away to college. They also help you remember the smells of home and stuff. So I change up my graphics a little bit to resonate with that younger crowd. What is your message? You want to prioritize your information. Are you asking a question? Are you telling them that there's a sale? You know, what exactly is the most important information? And then what feeling are you trying to achieve? Playful, bold, cozy? Is it holiday? Is it upscale? Is it you want it to be professional and comfortable? So once you start answering these questions, it goes really quickly. But these are the things that you need to be thinking about before you start planning your design. So the first step is make a plan. I always try to plan. When I don't plan, things turn out a hot mess. So it only takes a couple minutes to plan. I search for imagery that I'm going to use. I have a list on my Evernote of popular social media sizes so that I know what size I'm designing for. And it helps keep me on track and it makes me work quicker. So when I don't have a plan, it usually takes me twice as long to design something as when I do have a plan, because then I have everything gathered and I'm all ready to go. Create a mood board. I call it a mood board. Some people call it an inspiration board. You can do it digitally. You can do it live and in person. I usually include photos and colors, fonts that I want to use, textures and patterns, backgrounds, stuff like that. Especially when I'm putting together graphics for a party, because I want them all to be cohesive. So I want to make sure that I'm hitting that feel for all of the graphics involved. And as for inspiration, I screenshot a lot of stuff, and instead of keeping it all in one scary loop of photo album, I have an Evernote notebook app that I use, and I keep stuff in there. Makes it easier to find. And I keep screenshots in there. I keep photos in there. I keep graphics in there. I keep wording in there so that I can cut and paste a lot and not have to retype everything over and over again. So I use Evernote, which I'll show you at the end. But there's also Trello. You can keep images on Pinterest. You can customize photo albums on your phone, whatever is easiest for you. So then you want to direct with leading lines. So lines are your friend. And even if you're not drawing a line on your graphic, you're using lines to get your point across. So you want to create an order by keeping objects aligned. Don't just kind of put your fonts and your text willy-nilly, like come up with a plan. It makes your graphic look more professional and it's cleaner. So like for this graphic, I utilize the curve of this road to kind of pull you into the bar and into that image. And then I put the information down at the bottom on a little call out. So that's not the most important. The most important is I wanted people to get an image of the fragrance. So that was how I built my hierarchy. You want to be able to group, do what?
Kim just signed on.
Hi, Kim. Hi. You want to be able to respect the space. You want to group items together. You don't want to overcrowd or overspace. With the app I use, you can space out your text a little bit depending on how you want it to function. You never want to space it too small so that it's really close together, because you end up, it just ends up really hard to read. You have to remember most of these graphics are for social media. Most people access social media on their phone. So you don't want them to be extremely hard to read. It would be better to use less text on your design and post the rest of your information in your actual post. Use scale and hierarchy. This is one that kind of drives me crazy a lot. So I'm not making fun of anyone's images ever, ever, ever. Everyone has their own style and that's fine. all I'm doing is kind of presenting an idea. So I pulled this graphic off of one of the Facebook group pages, and it's cute, it's great, it gets the point across, but to me, everything's kind of fighting for your attention. Like, I don't know whether I'm supposed to read it first or look at it or what's happening. And the text is like a decorative font, so it makes it really hard to read, and it's spaced really close together. So I did the same thing. You get that same kind of feel where it's rich and warm and cozy, but I pull you into the picture first, so you get that feeling from the picture. Then I tell you what it is, and then I tell you what it smells like. So your eye automatically recognizes where I want it to go in that image. And that's what you do with scale and hierarchy. So you don't want everything to be just the same size, because then your design will look cluttered and people won't know really what to do with it. So you want to think of your design and what your communication is. What are you looking for in this? You're wanting them to smell that photo in their head is what you want. So the photo should be biggest, and then it should go down from there. Does that make sense?
Somebody just said you're a rock star.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So then we talk about balance, symmetrical and asymmetrical designs. Symmetrical designs, people always say are balanced, and asymmetrical is off balance. It's not a lack of balance. You want to create balance in your imagery. It just does it in a different way. So this image right here, it's nice and balanced. The text is centered. It's a decorative font, so I spaced it out so that it's easier to read. And the image on the whole feels symmetrical. Even though the compass is kind of out here, the design feels symmetrical. Whereas this one is definitely asymmetrical. All of the text is along here. The picture in the background is off from that, but it still feels balanced. Your message is still getting across. There's still space in the font so that it makes it easier to read. It just gives you a different feel of the image. So when you're thinking about asymmetry, don't think of it as a lack of balance. Just think of it as playing with scale and playing with shapes. So complementary elements. Utilize photos from the same session if you're photographing our own images, or at least look for similar lighting. So if you photograph, like if you get beautiful light in your room at 12 o'clock, then try to photograph more things at 12 o'clock, because you'll get similar lighting, so that when you combine the images together, they have a similar tone and balance to them. You don't want really dark images up in the corner and then really bright images down at the side. And I know that we like to show our products both, you know, lit and unlit in a brighter room. And that's not what I mean. You can definitely do that. But when you're trying to create a cohesive collage of just products, you mostly want them to be similar tones. I get beautiful light in our front room, and that's usually where I like to shoot. I have white shears that hang up, so it helps filter the light. And I usually try to shoot between 11 and 3 when that light is really bright in there, but it's not streaming in through the window. So if you have photos that are feeling a little bit different, you can always use black and white for imagery. You can do something called split toning, where you make your image pink, but the highlights are still light pink and the shadows are dark pink. So something like that you can do. Try to keep them in similar shapes, and I always use grids when I'm designing. It helps with flow, it helps with balance, it helps keep your design neat and organized. Boost or reduce contrast. So contrasting colors, contrasting fonts, even use of space can all affect contrast. And when you're putting text over images, I always recommend adjusting the brightness levels. So you want to dim down your photo in the back and brighten up your text, or you want to darken your text and over brighten your photo. But what I like to do most is add a divider. So here I just used a square and dropped it right over the photo, and then I dropped down the opacity, and then I put full color fonts on top of it. So it makes it easier to read, even though you still get the idea of the photo behind it. This guy is off the grid, so I put him in a little shape so that he would be easy to read, as opposed to outlining your font or anything like that, because that's going to make your fonts harder to read. But this one is a good example of asymmetry. So you got your full color happening over here. It's nice and bright. And then it's giving your description right here on the side. Repetition. Repetition is really useful, and it's super helpful when you're doing like Facebook parties and such, when you're designing your graphics. You want them to feel like they belong together. Even though they're showcasing different things and have, you know, different items on them, you want the overall feel to feel the same, like they're all coming from the same place. So these are actually my favorite. I love to keep these. All of the notes in the back change all the time, but the layout is still the same. The high note, the top notes, the mid notes, and the low notes are all there. And I love to show these to my customers because it helps them visualize what they're going to get out of that bar. Because I always educate my customers to know that the top notes are going to burn off the quickest, because they evaporate first, while your low notes are the ones that are going to stick around for the length of your bar. So when I'm doing party graphics, I reuse a lot of my graphics. So I will design a background that I like, and then I will take and I will put different photos on that background, so that I don't have to remake the wheel every time. I keep the feel of it the same, the fonts all the same. I just change what they say, and I change the pictures that are laid out on it. White space is useful. It doesn't always have to be white to be white space. It's just kind of pockets of negative space. So this is one of my favorite ideas of white space, and the space is white, but it makes it dramatic, and it's not full like most movie posters are, but it gives you that feel of what to expect. Sometimes less is more, especially at phone size and phone resolution, and that's what you have to keep in mind. So like the hug and a mug example. Yeah. It's not white, but it is negative space. So the chocolate boxes provide a little bit of negative space, whereas this design is full everywhere. So you don't really get that calm or that pause or that call to detail the same way that you do in the bottom image. And so align with purpose. I utilize grids almost all the time when I design, even though it's not like drawn on my image, I line things up correctly. And I'll show you with Over, it's really easy to do that. So I will line up my font and my text so that even though some is at the top and some is at the bottom, it's lined up the same way, it's lined up on the same plane. It just is going to lend that consistency and help keep your design organized. So I don't know if you guys know rule of thirds. It's used in photography as well as design. And basically you draw a tic-tac-toe board over your design or your image. And where the lines meet is where you want to put your focal points and your interest. So whenever I'm taking a water picture or a picture that has the horizon in it, I put the horizon up here or I put the horizon down low. It just will make your image more dramatic. Same thing with your design. If you're putting something dead center, it absolutely can work. But most of the time, if you put it in the corners, in the intersections, your design will just be more dynamic and it'll feel more flow. So this guy is super cute and he's great and he's drawing attention right there in the center, and you could put, you know, text on either side of him. But when you move him over, you feel that urgency of him. He's about to step out of the frame. So then when you put your, you know, text over here, it lends to that movement. And that's kind of what you want to enforce. And so I also do a rule of odds. Odd numbers are more visually pleasing. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. So a lot of times when I'm staging, I always do odd numbers. I do 3s, I do 5s. If things are little, I'll do 7s. It just helps you build in triangles. Triangles are dynamic and keep things visually interesting. So I always try to keep triangles and odd numbers in mind. Go ahead and play with it, you know, tomorrow or later tonight or whatever, and you'll kind of start to see how it works. So my best practices for when using images: no naked images, which means your image is just floating. It's not touching anything. It's just kind of out there. Put a frame around it, have it touch a border, line it up in a grid formation, make a grid out of your photos. It just helps keep everything with a more professional feel, and it'll help keep your imagery similar in size, so that you're not confusing people. Limit fonts. Less is honestly so much more when you're using fonts. The program I'll show you later today has font families, and what that is multiple fonts in the same family. So like Arial, Arial bold, Arial condensed, Arial regular. They're all the same font, but they all have different feelings. So I try to use font families like that a lot. And then so that's only kind of like using one font. So then if you want to limit yourself to 1 to 2, then you can add another font in there. But still just play with scale and letter thickness to help guide people through the design. Fonts can set the mood, totally. You'll always be mine. You'll always be mine. One is a love note. One is a serial killer warning. So you want to think about that when you're picking your fonts. You want to think about your message. Do you love them or do you want to murder them is kind of the thing. Same thing with spacing and decorative letters. I don't know anyone who would want to eat a fart taco personally, but I don't get fast taco from it. I only always get fart taco from it. And so they have different types of fonts and they have different moods. Rounded edges are happy and friendly. Hard edge geometric fonts are sturdy and strong. They provide a good baseline. Serif fonts convey elegance and sophistication. Script fonts add whimsy and fun and happiness. Decorative fonts like snowflake fonts and horror fonts are great, but please use them sparingly, like for big font like headlines. That way your text is bigger and it'll be easier to read. Keep lines balanced for ease of reading. So when you're laying out your text, you don't want single words left on the last line. We call those orphans, and they just kind of look sad and lonely. And people usually, like, their eye won't track back to it, so they'll just feel like they're missing the end of the statement. And don't try to overcrowd your text. If you have a lot of small text, like describing a whole bunch of things, then you might want to just create a different graphic, use 2 graphics instead of 1, just to help get your point across and keep it easy to read. Remember, we're designing for phones. So, and my image best practices, kiss. I always kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Less is always more. Don't try to throw on extra things just to feel like you're making more impact. Sometimes just an image and a line of text is all you need, and it's perfect. Don't just copy people's designs. Use them as inspiration. So maybe pick the same fonts or use the same color palette or lay things out in a similar way, but do it in your own style. Designing graphics is like speaking a language. So everyone's gonna have their own style and their own language. Make sure to keep your stuff authentically you. Think outside the box. Find unique shapes, utilize elements in unconventional ways. Big images, text boxes, fun graphic shapes can outline a quote. Just try new things. You'll never know what will work or won't work until you try it. And that leads us into trial and error. If you feel like something's not working, shake it up. Try changing sizes, try deleting some images, try adding less text, maybe just start the whole process over again. Sometimes everything just clicks, boom, lays right into place. Other times you have to adjust and try something bold. Relax your eyes. I do this a lot because I build a lot of my graphics all at once. So I find myself getting cross-eyed staring at my phone or my iPad. So I will read a book. I will watch a TV show. I will take a walk. I will figure out how to relax my brain for a minute, and then I'll come back to it. I'm always more productive. Be original. Follow your own design style and rules. So what I gave you were a list of best practices and tips and tricks, but they're not hard and fast rules. Speak your own language in your design. Just try to make it clean and easy and keep your audience in mind when you're designing it. Finesse. This one is where I struggle as a perfectionist. Make it beautiful, but don't worry about making it perfect. Nobody likes perfection. Perfection is unattainable. So perfection doesn't resonate with a lot of our customers because they definitely don't feel perfect. I never feel perfect. So it's hard sometimes to stop working on something and call it done, but it's definitely important, something very important to do. And so that's the end of that. I will make that available. I'll get with Kim and either make it available on the Google Drive. Oh, hi. I'll either make it available on the Google Drive or in the group or what have you. So I wanted to go through the couple apps that I use that saved me a lot of time. The first one is Over. And this is what I use to design all of my stuff. Please don't mind my crazy mess. I like Over because it's easy and it gives you a lot of stuff to work with. So they've got a template category that you can click on and you can search all kinds of different templates for sales, for different sizes, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of times what I do is I pick something that I feel that I like the colors of or the fonts of or the image layout, and then I delete everything else and I just keep the parts of it that I really like. like right here, like with this collage, this is actually a great mood board idea. So I really like the colors and I really like how they laid out the pictures. So when it opens here in a second or 5, I'll show you how you can play around with it. Does anybody have any questions so far as we wait? Julie, you look so bored. Okay, there we go. So now that you brought this in here, you definitely don't have to save it this way. Like I'm not feeling these little lines. So you just touch on them and you can duplicate them. You can replace them. I'm just going to delete them. So then I'm not feeling the flower photo. I'd like to replace it with something. So I just hit replace. And this is the menu that comes up. You can save logos. It'll access your photo albums. You can keep favorites in there. And then Unsplash and Pixabay are the stock images that you can use. So if we want to make something for fall, let's look for apples. And you can kind of scroll through and see what kind of apple picture are you going for. Remember, it was a square. So let's say we like this one. So we'll touch it. It'll take a minute to load. And then it'll drop your picture right in there. And then you can move and adjust it as you want. You can shrink it down. You can make it bigger, however you want to work it. And then you can go through here and change out other images. What I like is how you pick your color palette. So these little boxes are going to represent our color palette. So if you hit the color palette down here, it's got this eyedropper. So if you hit the eyedropper, it brings it up big on the screen. So you can drag it anywhere you want and save those colors. So I usually always make a color palette from the images that I'm using because it just lends itself better to how it works. And it helps everything feel cohesive. So now that I saved all those colors, not that one. So down here, it saved the colors. So then all I have to do is touch one and it'll change that box. And then I can touch the other box and it still saved all my colors. So I can hit yellow and then I can hit red. And boom. So it changed that. And then as you're working through the rest of the layout, it will keep those colors for you. So it builds and keeps your color palette, which is really nice. So we don't like this image, we can replace it. Every time you want to change up something and you want to okay it, you just hit the little check mark up here in the corner and it'll okay it. And then you can touch on stuff and move stuff around. You can also adjust stuff by layers, which is really important when you're stacking stuff on top of it and what have you. So I'm going to pull up a project that I made. So down here, there's a whole list of projects that we've made, that I've made. So like this one that Lauren did. I really liked it. I would have changed a couple things. I added the line for her because that's all I had the time to do at that moment. But see how the images are just kind of floating there? To me, that just kind of feels like they're lost in space. So I would anchor them to something. And before, when she didn't have a line in the middle, she had her Team Pumpkin kind of lined up over this photo and her Team Apple lined up under that photo. So it was kind of confusing to me because everything is kind of the same size. So what I did to change it up was I picked a couple different photos just to customize it to me. And then I laid it out in a grid fashion. So this design is really symmetrical. I called out the question and made that the biggest. Are you team apple or team pumpkin? And then I laid out the same options that she had, just in a different fashion, so that it feels like one whole complete thing. All you have to do is make your images a little bit bigger so that they fit in a grid style and they touch the edges. And then all these are just shapes. There's a shape button down here, and you can draw a whole bunch of shapes, and they're fully editable. So we can import a rectangle, and then it's got these little dots on the side, so you can draw it out and not that one, and shrink it down and make it into a line, or you can make it even thinner, and you can use it as a grid to divide photos. So it's really easy to use and really easy to change. So we have that white line there. All we have to do is go in our layers palette and hit delete, and it'll delete it for us. The same thing with stacking. So buy 5, get 1 free. You can move that down and back up. So all we had to do was move this bar back behind it. And that way you can see it again. And so that's how you build up your graphics. So this box right here, this beige square behind all the text, is way down here at the bottom. And so you can just touch on it like that and drag it out. It's behind the photos, so it doesn't matter what size it is. It's extending off the palette and everything. So it will only, it's kind of like looking through a window at something. You see the glass of the window, then you see the curtains, then you see what's behind the curtains. So as you're stacking things up, it's,
Candace wants to know what app it is.
oh, it's Over. It's the Over app. It's in the App Store. I'm positive that it's in the Android Store as well. Because I taught my best friend how to use it for her Color Street gig. And so as we're laying out text, I'll show you text. Text is really easy. So this is the text box right here. It's the same size as it was the same size as the page, but I shrunk it down a little bit. So you can drag it around, and I use the edges of it to line up. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's these little yellow lines that pop up as I'm moving it. And that's your center line and other lines. So it'll kind of lock right into where the rest of this text is laid out. It's all on the same line. And it's what's called right justified. So it lines up from the right side. So this is where I pick my font, and it gives you different families, different selections in the different families. So all of this text is all the same font. It's just different bolds and what have you. So calling out interest that way. And then you can hit style, and it'll let you change it to right justified, to centered, and to line up that way. You can change the color. You can change the size in here if you don't want to drag it with your fingers. Like if you're on a phone and you just want to make little adjustments, you can do them in there. It's got a thing to change the opacity, and nudge is one that's really useful. If you just want to move it incrementally, you can do that with nudge, and then just go back and move it around from there. So that's how you use that for that. So this little bar is a graphic. I found it online, and it didn't have a background. It was a PNG. And so what I did was I just brought it in and saved it in my images as a logo, and it's right here. And it drops it in, and I saved it black, and then I just changed the color of it, and you can change the size of it. And I love that it keeps the scale of it, so you're not like stretching it or making it short and fat or tall and thin or anything like that. So then if you import it and it's black, you just go down to tint right here and hit color, and it brings up that color palette for you. And you can make it any color that you want. And you can even play with the opacity of it. So that's at 75%, that's at 100%. You can, so if something you import has a pattern and you want to keep it, you can play with the opacity. And go from there. So then that is our box. And then if we wanted to add text over the top of it, we can just hit that check mark and it gets us back to our main menu. We can hit text and it stores all of the fonts that you want in a line. So as you're typing out stuff, buy 5, get 1 free. So then you can scroll through and see what your different fonts are going to look like, which is pretty easy. So this one is kind of cool. It's script, so it's a little bit whimsical, but it's only 5 letters or 5 words. So we can scroll it up. You can tilt it to the side so that it matches your graphic. You can scale it up. You can scale it down. You can change its font color. And here is where you can adjust the spacing. So see how the lines are in between are kind of spaced out. So this changes your letter spacing side to side, and this changes your line spacing. So you can stretch it out to make it fit. You can squish it together so that everybody knows that it goes together. However you want to adjust it. This makes it really easy. It's got all the tools laid out for you on the bottom, and they have tons of help documents. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me, because I know I've been using this app for about 3 years now. So I'm really, I know it like the back of my hand. So we want to discard changes. We want to delete this guy. And so this is our thing. They also have a graphics tab at the bottom. I showed you images where you can store your own, work from your own photos, use the stock photos. You can also search Google, which is really nice. And so if you're looking for apples, it's going to pull up mostly ones that have no background. So you don't have to worry about having that white box or whatever. But if you do, there's an easy way I'll show you to get rid of that. So they have a graphics tab too, and this is where they have more like hand-drawn graphics and stuff that you can choose from. So if we're looking for apples in here, type in apples and it'll pull up all the different graphics that are there to use. So I have a subscription, so I have access to all of them. You can use it for free as well. You don't get access to all of them, but they do have a pretty large free collection that you can use. So we can pull up our apple and it'll bring it in, and then you can throw it into your design wherever you want. You can shrink it down, put it right there. You can use graphics instead of photos. However you want to be able to design with it. You could actually use this instead of your Scentsy bar. And so that way now it says buy 5, get 1 free on top of your apple. So it's really easy to do. You do it all with your finger, on your phone, on your tablet. I don't know if they make it for the laptop. I've never tried to use it there, but this is the software that I like the best. And it's really easy to add stuff to and what have you. And they have tons of graphics in here. They have shapes to make text frames out of. They have background images and textures. They have all kinds of different stuff. They even have ready-made lettering, like for thank yous and Happy Mother's Day and stuff like that. And that's another thing I like the templates for, is if you're looking for a holiday like back to school, which isn't really a holiday, but sorry, that's enough, Maisie Lou. So back to school, we're looking for back to school. So it'll bring up a whole bunch of ideas with back to school, and that's where an easy place for you to find graphics, hand-drawn graphics. You can find imagery and stuff. So this is something really easy that you can customize for Scentsy. It gives you a back to school. You can throw in a little picture of like a caramel apple pack or like the apple warmer and some apple scents or something, and title it, you know, great back to school teacher gift idea. And it's already mostly done for you. So like I said, you can kind of adjust all of it. So you can move the photo off a little bit, and then we'll get rid of this guy over here to the side, change text. Can say, need a teacher gift. And drop that in there. And then we'll get rid of this text because we don't need it. And then we can import an image of, I don't know, we'll just do hug and a mug for now. So you can import whatever image you want and put it there, and then change it up however you need to. And then it's really nice because in images, you can actually save your logos. So I saved the Scentsy logo, and we'll just change its color, make it black, and then you can shrink it down and put it where you want to go. You can do the same thing with your website. I have my website that I just wrote up in a font that matches most of my stuff. Shrink it down and put it right there, and you're done. So when you're doing repetitive things like that, it's really nice to be able to save your own custom images so that they're just easy to use. I've reorganized my fonts in this so that they're according to what I use most, so I don't have to keep scrolling through the fonts to find what I want. And templates is a great place to start off because they already have some good quality layouts for you, and you can literally change everything about the layouts. So you can pick something that says back to school, and you can totally make it for Christmas if you want to by changing the graphics that they have and whatever. So that's why I really love this program. I think it's really easy to use. And it has a lot of great things, and it's not very expensive. So, and you can get a whole bunch of different emotions. Like this guy with the spooky ghosts is really cute. And it's kind of fun and playful. This guy gives you a whole different feel. This would be more for like the college age kind of crowd. And then you can get something to a lot more people, different age. Right here, very nice, very. It shows you kind of the hierarchy of with the pumpkin carving, and then you tell them when it is, which is the second most important thing, and then you give them the information. So that's what I like about these templates is they make it really easy and they do most of the hard work for you. The other app that I use is Evernote. You can use it for free or you can pay a subscription, either one. But this is where I do a lot of my graphics planning. So in here, I have Team Apple or Team Pumpkin. I wrote up my 6-packs so I can just copy and paste them. You just touch your finger on it and you highlight it and you drag it out and you hit copy, and then you open it in over and you can paste it right in there. I also keep my photos that I'm going to use in there as well, because that just helps. It keeps everything together and you can actually touch on the photos and copy them and move them over. So it really helps me stay organized with stuff that I'm doing. Like this one is was for my Alice in Wonderland one. So I did some preview images myself that I designed so that I could drop hints and stuff before the actual launch, because you know we're not supposed to edit the Disney ones. But beforehand, if you're not using the actual product, you can use your own imagery. So I just kind of kept everything that I used right in here so that it was easy for me to find and all together. And a lot of times I'll do the same thing, and then I'll put the text that I need and whatever in there as well. So here's the whole Star Wars collection, because I know it's going to be back. So I saved all the images in there so that they were easy to find. I don't have to whiz through my 27,549 images in my photo album. And so I have all my different photos, or all my different folders. I have a whole Scentsy folder. So it's like basically a Scentsy binder, and then it's got separate notebooks in it. So for promotions, I write out all the text, or I copy it from Facebook and organize it how I want. And then I can cut and paste it to Facebook. I can cut and paste it into a design software, however I want to do it. So it really helps keep me organized and helps me plan out graphics. So that's what I use and how I use it. Does anyone have questions? Anyone at all?
They muted. Somebody say something.
Somebody say something. Anyone say something.
I have a question.
Okay, I have an
It's
answer.
more about like the Disney stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to screenshot it on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
it screenshotted everything on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm allowed to adjust it to where it's just the Disney image, right? And it's not my entire iPhone screen.
Yes, yes. As long as it's that whole solid Disney image. You can screenshot it. A lot of times if you touch and hold on it, it will bring up a like save to photos or something. I know it does that on Facebook. As I'm navigating through, I'll touch the image and it'll put it like on a blackout screen, and then you can hit it and it'll say save photo. So it'll save it to your photo roll. But I do a lot of screenshots and stuff. And as long as you just keep that square where it has the Disney logo and you don't alter it or put text over it at all, that's fine for you to use. It's within Scentsy standards, so. Does anyone else have a question? An idea? Something to share? Anyone? Is anyone still there other than Kylie and Laura?
I'm
I guess.
excited that I got my breast cancer warmer today.
Oh, yay! Can you show it to me?
It's still in the box.
That's cool. That way you know it's not broken.
That's always my first fear. Something's going to come broken.
Yes. Ooh, that's pretty. So it looks like it's almost got like an iridescent glaze over the top of it.
Give me a second and I'll be able to light it up.
Okay.
Gotta find the extension cords.
Don't hurt yourself.
Too late.
Hey, Kate, real quick, what was the name of that first app?
Over. It's that little yellow circle right there. That's
Okay.
what the icon looks like. And it's
Awesome.
just called Over, like OVER.
Awesome.
There are lots of other app options to use. Some people use Canva. And Photofy actually has all of the Scentsy catalog of photos in it. But I find it's not as intuitive to use as Over. So I have Photofy and I save the images from there, but then I import them in, I bring them back over into Over to lay out my graphics because it just, the app makes more sense to me, I guess.
Ooh, and Photofy is not updated. Like it doesn't even have a lot of the new fall winter stuff.
Oh, it doesn't? That's strange. It usually does.
Like when you go to it, it really doesn't have much.
Hold on. And I don't like Photofy, especially on my iPad, because it doesn't auto rotate. So you have to do it like standing up, and that drives me
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a little more complicated too, and it's the same. Like it's more complicated.
Okay, it pulled up the fall bars for me
See, I hadn't
when
seen
I hit images. Because it's got, hold on, let me switch around.
unless they updated.
It's got the hardest stuff on it too. So maybe it just has to update. Because I know a lot of times like apps have to update before they'll put out new stuff, but I see
Oh, see, it's
a
there
lot
wasn't there,
of.
yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it must have updated.
So yeah, see, it doesn't auto rotate, and I hate that. It annoys me. So yeah, so another thing that I use is this layout guy right here. It's Instagram layout actually, and I use it on my phone more than on here, as you can tell, because it doesn't whatever open. Thank you. But it is an easy way to build grids with stuff. So you can actually like choose photos from right here. And then it'll have like layouts at the top that you can choose from. So we can do like this guy, and then you just press on the photo and you can drag it over. And you can scale it up or down from there, which is really cool. And what I like to do is I usually keep like a white screenshot or something on my phone. So that way you can drag in the white screenshot and then you save your layout. You can take it to Over and then you can add text over the white or whatever, or the orange or whatever. And you can I add the little borders to it and then just save it. And then I can bring it right into Over, which I closed. So then I'm back in Over. When you hit open, it brings you a new template, and it's got all kinds of pre-sized templates for you. Here, I'll show you. It's got event cover and ad and Facebook cover and a story and a post and a square, and then it's got your Instagram stories and stuff like that. So it already keeps the sizes for you, which is really nice. And you can actually do like 3x2 is a 4x6 postcard. So you can actually design postcards and then have them printed at Vistaprint in it. I really like it. So then you just open this and I'll hit image and go to my photo reel and I'll put that collage in and size it up like that. And then if this guy down here was just a color, or I could actually make him a color with a shape like that. And then you can go ahead and add text right in there. So you can do it with 3 photos, you can do it with 5 photos, however you want to do it. So that makes it really easy to lay stuff out in a nice tidy grid and be able to use it. So that's what I really like. You guys have any other questions for me or for anything? Because if not, then I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And you can message me or whatever in the group page or on Facebook if you want, if you have any questions or need any tips or anything like that.
Thank you, Kate.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. All right. So I will see you guys later.